We all seek meaning and purpose and stability in life, and yet the modern world bombards us with complexity and ambiguity and insecurity at every turn. Information overload, rapid change, societal upheaval leave many of us feeling lost and totally afraid. And it's no wonder then that authoritarian strongmen can exert such a powerful pull on the minds of certain individuals. They promise clear answers, they promise simple solutions, and a return to some mythic past, however illusory. And this is what many people see in Donald Trump and others around the globe who, in, say, rhetoric or action, skate dangerously close to fascism. And so, again, I look to Ernest Becker for understanding. I've said elsewhere, Ernest Becker explored humanity's quest for self-esteem and significance and the heroism needed to deny our mortality and cope with our existential fears. Becker believed that the fear of death and insignificance is the main driver behind much of human behavior and culture. And we construct symbolic worlds, religions, ideologies, and other belief systems that allow us to feel meaningful and heroic in the face of our fear of death and insignificance. It's clear that not all worldviews are equally favorable to individual freedom and societal well-being. Authoritarian worldviews are particularly good at exploiting our inner vulnerabilities, especially during a time of great psychological upheaval, like what we're experiencing today. Authoritarian worldviews offer rigid structures that make people feel secure by severely limiting independent thought. Clear hierarchies, scapegoats, and simple black and white narratives provide psychological shelter from ambiguity and complexity. But they do so by sacrificing diversity and dissent and ultimately our shared humanity. And there have been others in the past. Many folks have already explored this terrain. Adorno and other Frankfurt School thinkers analyzed how fascism rose in the 1930s Germany through its ability to meet profound psychological needs. People longed for stability, and they longed for pride, and they longed for release from responsibility in the aftermath of World War I. Authoritarian rabble-rousers met these needs through propaganda that shifted blame, stoked nationalistic fervor, and promised restoration through a strong, decisive leader. People willingly suspended their critical thinking and individual agency in exchange for a totalizing sense of meaning, even as civil liberties were stripped away. And this reveals how authoritarianism preys on our existential insecurities. When life feels precarious and beyond our control, the prospect of total certainty, even if forced upon us, can appear profoundly comforting. Submission to an idealized leader who promises to resolve our inner conflicts by removing the need for personal responsibility or independent judgment, that's soothing. We outsource the burden of choice and our very identity to some parental figure who makes decisions and shows us what we think we want. But this false certainty comes at a tremendous cost. It requires abandoning our capacity for empathy, compassion, and conscience. It demands that we follow citizens not as that we see fellow citizens not as individuals, but only as members of outgroups to be dominated and scapegoated. Through nationalism and tribalism and so forth. It undermines our creativity, of our diversity of thoughts, our ability to question power in a peaceful way, and it replaces open democracy with some closed system that demands total obedience and conformity. And understanding this helps explain why authoritarian populism is rising again in times of rapid change and economic insecurity and even global pandemics. People long for relief from complexity and responsibility and uncertainty. People long for a black and white, simple world completely free of any shade of gray. And demagogues exploit this by scapegoating minorities, stoking cultural grievances, and promising a return to a mythic homogenous past. They portray themselves as strong men who will solve problems decisively. They'll restore national greatness and protect people from unnamed threats. They offer ready-made, ready-to-wear, prepackaged identities that provide a sense of heroism in fighting for the cause. They offer simplicity. They offer an illusory view of reality that doesn't require taxing critical thinking. They promote false narratives that, even though are outlandish, they are still very straightforward. Understandable stories with designated and tangible, clear, good guys and bad guys. False narratives that provide a clear reason for the chaos and point out the mustache-twirling villain orchestrating the chaos. But in reality, we know there is no single agent in control. There's no grand global cabal. There's no Illuminati. No, it's far more terrifying. No one is in control. No one is at the wheel. There are only pockets of power and influence operating at their own discretion. And that's even more terrifying than the man behind the curtain. Becker tells us that this ploy is powerful because it allows us to feel truly meaningful and truly heroic in the face of our existential conflicts, in the face of complexity, in the face of ambiguity, in the face of insecurity that comes with rapid change. And it allows us to feel like we are part of something significant that transcends death. It's a ploy that allows us to believe that I am the struggle, or I am a part of a great nation and I serve a great leader. So if I die, it will continue and I will symbolically continue as well. And this certainty vomited out by these strongmen are total illusions. There are no simple solutions to profound problems like inequality or climate change or pandemics, the whims of casino capitalism, job insecurity, and so on. Security comes not from dominating others or clinging to fixed identities, but from compassionately recognizing our shared vulnerabilities and interdependence, the interconnectedness of all things, right? It emerges from inclusion, diversity, and being open-minded. And while the appeal to authoritarianism is understandable, history has totally shown us it is a Faustian bargain that destroys democracy and civil rights and ultimately societies from within. The only solution is strengthening our immunity to simplistic strongmen by meeting people's psychological need for meaning and community and self-esteem through more ethical and unifying approaches. We must alleviate economic insecurity, maximize feelings of purpose, and appeal to people's capacity for empathy and conscience and independent thoughts. And I truly believe that the first step in this is simply to admit that we are all scared.